Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Resideo webinar session. We are going to be providing an overview of our Z-Wave and Wi-Fi thermostats today. My name is Jamie Quanrud, and I'm part of the Resideo Sales Training team. And on behalf of all of us, I'd like to welcome you to our training session today. Before we get started with our presentation, I'm going to cover just a few administrative items. As you may be aware, this is our first training for 2021, and we're excited to offer these sessions going forward and want to make sure that you are aware that we're going to be offering these sessions twice each month on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month. Make sure you join us for these training sessions. Go ahead and visit us at resideo.com/webinars for more information on these sessions. Additionally, we do record these sessions as well, and we place those on the same website underneath the webinar recordings tab for your reference. And then if you want to go to the next slide here for our contractors who are joining us for our live session today, if you are interested in earning one NATE continuing education credit, there are just a few things to note. If you provided your NATE ID on your registration form, we submit that information to NATE for your attendance of these live sessions, and we won't need any additional information from you at this time. However, if you did not provide us with your NATE ID on the registration form for this webinar and you'd like to receive credit for attending this live session, we do ask that you email your first name, your last name, and your NATE ID, as well as the date of the session that you attended, to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week from today. We do submit this information to NATE 1 week following the close of each training session. And any requests that are sent outside of 1 week from the live training cannot be processed. And as a quick reminder, we can only process requests for NATE credits when you attend the live webinar sessions, and we're unable to process requests for watching recorded versions of these sessions. If you'd like more information about the NATE program, go ahead and visit their website at www.natex.org. And then one quick note for everyone before we begin our presentation. All of our attendees are muted. However, if at any point during our presentation you'd like to ask a question, and we do encourage those questions, please use the Q&A feature that is found in your Zoom webinar controls at the bottom of your screen. We are going to reserve the last 15 minutes of our time today to answer some common questions about our connected thermostats, as well as address any questions that you may have. So make sure you ask your questions in that Q&A feature so that we can address it at the end of today's session. Now we're going to turn things over in our presentation to Gary Crosby, who is one of our contractor development specialists. We're glad to have Gary here with us today to share his knowledge of our connected thermostat portfolio. Gary, we're going to hand things over to you. Thanks so much for being with us, being here with us today. Take it away.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button there. It's a nice sunny day here in Indianapolis, a little cold. I've also got my coworker, Jeffrey Holman, with us. He is from Ohio, and he's going to be helping me out with the Q&A portion of our training here. So I'm going to start off with our connected portfolio here of our thermostats that will go to the internet for you. Some of these are a mixture of REDLINK. We're not going to discuss REDLINK today. Today is the Wi-Fi side of the fence, but REDLINK does go to the internet, so it's part of our portfolio. So if you start on the left-hand side and work your way up, our entry level is definitely our T6 Pro Smart. We have a couple of versions of those we'll talk about. We also have our Z-Wave. That is, it's a connected thermostat that primarily goes through security panels. We'll talk about it today. Our REDLINK Focus Pro, our REDLINK VisionPRO, and our Prestige system. Those are different protocols that we'll talk about, but definitely will go to the internet for you as well. Our Wi-Fi Smart our VisionPRO Smart and our T10 give you, I mean, from a low cost entry level to a more complex system, we really cover all the bases for you. So we'll go through all the Wi-Fi versions today, and REDLINK will get picked up on a training in the not too distant future here. It might be even the next one. All right, so we're going to focus on Wi-Fi thermostats and are connected. You know, why would a homeowner even want it? You know, and the one thing is you know, I'm a homeowner too. I have these. I've had a connected thermostat in my house for a long time, and I travel a lot. As you know, being a Resideo rep, we're all over the place, and I've had issues where if it wasn't for me having that thermostat in my house, I would have never known my I'd had a humidifier problem or my furnace was messed up and I didn't have any heat and I was out of town. So that ease of use and that peace of mind is a big deal. Also, our thermostats are famous for being pretty precise. I mean, it's plus or minus 1 degree of being accurate on the temperature in that home. We try to have as many universal applications as possible, depending on the model you choose. You know, and try to build them to where we don't have a whole lot of callbacks. Nobody's perfect, but we do try to minimize the callbacks with our product. Retrofit applications, that's a big part of what we do. We're big in new construction, but going back after the fact to be able to take a thermostat off a van and a retrofit and make it work with whatever has been installed in that house is a big part of what we do. And that we try to think about that with all of our Wi-Fi options that we put out there for you, or REDLINK. So when we get into how these things communicate with the internet, we have a REDLINK system, we have a Wi-Fi, and we have Z-Wave. So REDLINK is our truly wireless system. When contractors think of wireless, they're not thinking of the internet as much as they're thinking of between my furnace, heat pump, and my thermostat. You know, I don't have enough wires in the wall to upgrade this 4-wire system to a 8-wire dual fuel, and REDLINK allows that to happen. Where Wi-Fi, a lot of people think just because it's Wi-Fi, it's a wireless thermostat. It's actually not. It's a hardwired thermostat that has a wireless connection to a router so you can access it remotely, but has nothing to do with wireless between the equipment and the thermostat. And Z-Wave, same way as Wi-Fi. It's just, instead of communicating through the homeowner's router, it's tied into some sort of a hub. The most common one being a security panel at your home. If you have a security panel that has Z-Wave in it and you're allowed to hook up different peripherals, the thermostats, Z-Wave thermostats, what's added into that, so you can see that scene from your security system. So communication protocol, what does that mean? It's communicating systems use well-defined formats or system of rules for exchanging and transmitting various messages, which is fancy word for saying that's how it talks to the internet. That's how it talks to the thermostat. Either goes through the router or goes through our REDLINK servers or goes through the Z-Wave hub to get out to the end user. Not much different than an ATM machine. You know, I've got my bank card. I put it in there. It figures out it's me, and I'm able to do a transaction. Same thing with communication protocols. It's just in a thermostat format, and you're getting information to change temperature instead of get $20 out of the bank. So just need to really know what those three are in regards to our systems. And so I'll break it down a little in little chunks here. So REDLINK, if I choose a REDLINK system, that system is proprietary technology to Resideo. So we're not going to be able to take a REDLINK thermostat and have somebody else's wireless system or something connect to it. It all works in a secure REDLINK system. And it's a commercial or residential system most of the time on those thermostats. We do have one residential only, but the REDLINK VisionPRO and the Prestige are both dual function thermostats with both software for commercial and residential. And those tend to be used a lot more on commercial, because that REDLINK is such a stronger signal to throw across a building than the limitations of a Wi-Fi router. So when you need pure wireless between the equipment, but still want to go to the internet, that's where you're going to choose a REDLINK system. But if a homeowner has simple needs, they've got plenty of wires at the wall, or it's, you can use a wire saver, and we'll talk about what that is. On the Wi-Fi or Z-Waves, you still have to hardwire them to the equipment. But once you hook them to the router or the security system, you're off to the races and you're able to access it remotely. So let's talk about Z-Wave first. So Z-Wave is, it looks and feels just like any of the other T-Series stats we have. The only difference is that instead of looking for downloading the app and hooking this to the internet at the end of the install, you pretty much just leave it there and the homeowner connects it through their menu. Because it may be a security system or something like that. So on new construction, I have a contractor here that puts these Z-Waves in. They literally just put them on the wall, set them up, and the security guy comes in and makes the connection to his security system after that. If it's a retrofit situation where you have, somebody says, hey, we don't like the thermostats our security system company gave us, it may require a phone call for you to talk to that security company and tell them you're putting this in, but all the connection between the security panel and the thermostat is done by somebody else. So you don't really have to worry about it if you're not in the security business. But this is one of the few thermostats that do dual fuel and security. And most security thermostats are very basic. They don't have a lot of features. They don't run a lot of different pieces of equipment that you as contractor sees on a daily basis. So if you want to have the best thermostat to pair with a security system or somebody that's using the Z-Wave protocol in their home, then our Honeywell Home Resideo Stat's the way to do it. It's by far we have sold more of these this year than we ever have because the word has really gotten out on how awesome a product they are. So very simple. It also when you use this in a security system as opposed to a Wi-Fi, which could kind of be used, but it defeatures some of the scenes that you can actually see on the security side. So the proper selection for security systems is the Z-Wave. And then when we get into Wi-Fi, it becomes more of a non-security company's pretty much daily connection, Wi-Fi, remote connection thermostat. So this actually relies on the router. So, there's not many people that don't have Wi-Fi routers in their home these days. So the T6 Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi 8000 or the Color Touch 9000, you can use any one of those and hook right into the router. You put them on the wall, you wire them up just like you normally would. They have to have a common. And the reason they have to have a common is we don't want a power steal to recharge a battery in these thermostats. We want it to have constant power all the time. If you lose power, we have an EEPROM chip built into our thermostats that remembers everything that you set it up, so there's no memory loss. It'll just, as soon as the power comes back, the thermostat will start working again. As soon as your internet comes back, it'll be remotely accessible again. So very, very easy once you get it connected. But you do have to know a few things about Wi-Fi and your routers in your home. I have a dual band router, so I'm spitting out a 2.4 gigahertz signal and a 5 gigahertz signal. So our thermostats and most everybody's Wi-Fi thermostats are looking for that 2.4 connection. So make sure that your phone is on the 2.4 signal and you're trying to connect it to that signal in the home. It just makes it so much easier because if you're trying to connect it to the 5 gig, it's going to have an error. So 2.4 is what you're looking for. But the Wi-Fi is just the frequency. It's an 802.11 frequency that's floating around in your home, and you go buy an iPad, you bring it home, you connect it up, and now I can, surf the internet or a TV. And a lot of people ask, how much bandwidth are these thermostats using up in my, because I want to be able to stream Netflix, and it's very little. We used to say it uses about the bandwidth of downloading one song a day from iTunes. So it's very little. So you're not going to work, if you put 2 or 3 of these thermostats in a house, you're not going to be slowing the homeowner's internet down. And once you get it connected, then you can download an app, and anywhere you are in the world, you can make changes to this thermostat. And the other features too, because I am online, where I traditionally needed an outdoor sensor to do dual fuel or some dew point control for my humidifier or ventilation lockouts, because it's on the internet, I can just pull the weather.com data and not have to pull that outdoor sensor. So it just makes it really, really nice and easy for you on installs. If you don't have enough wires at the wall, you're upgrading a 4-wire system that, the contractor just ran 4 wires, you don't have that 5th wire. Have this C wire adapter on your van, or go to your distributor and pick one up, because it'll convert the 4-wire to 5-wire without having to pull that wire. So the 4-wire that's coming in from the thermostat down at the equipment, you're just going to unwire the 4 wires from the board and tie into the top of that C wire adapter. And then we have a 5-wire whip already installed on the bottom of that adapter. So you just wire it in straight to the furnace board, and it switches the heat, or excuse me, the fan wire, but the G and the Y between the seasons to turn that fan on for you. And if the homeowner ever wants to turn the fan on to get, to ventilate the home or make their filter, boost their filter, they can totally do that with that C wire installed, because even though there's not a G wire landing there, the K terminal on that diagram switches the yellow or the cooling circuit in the fan circuit, depending on if you're in summer or winter. So they're able to have on and off functions of that fan from the thermostat. So all in all, for a low price, you don't have to pull a wire through the home. Make sure you have a handful of these on your van with your Wi-Fi stats, so you're not spending time pulling wire. Then we have the two options on our T6. We have the 6220WF, which is a 2 heat, 2 cool Wi-Fi. Does not have a humidity sensor in it. It'll do a 2 heat, 1 cool heat pump, or a 2 heat, 2 cool conventional. Have to have that common, or use the C wire. The 6320WF is a 3 heat, 2 cool heat pump. So that gives me 2 compressor stages with the backup electric, or I can do 2 heat, 2 cool. It also is dual fuel. One other thing that 6320 has is ventilation control. It's the first step for us to start creeping some ventilation in on a lower cost thermostat. So I get these used a lot in new construction where they need a ventilation control plus a Wi-Fi thermostat. So it really fits that nicely. If you don't want to use the internet for the dual fuel switchover, you can pull a wire if you want, but since it's Wi-Fi, you don't have to. Notice that the 6220 is not dual fuel. If you want a Wi-Fi and dual fuel, you have to start with the 6320 WF. Now, I put this nomenclature in here because I started rattling off model numbers on the last slide. You have to really know what our model numbers mean. So the first group is going to be either YTH or TH. If it's YTH, there's more than one item in the box. So if I get a Prestige IEQ, it's going to have the Prestige color touchscreen, and it's going to have an EIM in one box. It's always going to start with YTH. But if I order a Wi-Fi like a Z-Wave, it's going to be a TH. TH just means that it's the Thermostat Homes division of who I work for. The next group of numbers may have an X and a number, or it may just be a Roman numeral. That's just the family. So the X is the T10, the X9 would be the Prestige, the 9 would be the Wi-Fi touchscreen, the Color Touch 9000, 8 would be VisionPRO, T would be T6, and so on. Then you have a group of numbers in the middle, and that's going to be the number of relays that Thermostat has in there for you to either use them all or dumb it down and make it. That's the universal part of our thermostat. So if I've got a 4 and a 2, I can cover 4 heat, 2 cool worth of capabilities on a job, or I can make it 3 heat, 2 cool, 2 heat, 1 cool, 1 heat, 1 cool, 3 wire zone valve, 2 wire boiler. I got enough relays. Okay. Then the next one is going to be either a 0 or a 1. If it's a 0, then it does not sense humidity for you to control. It only may sense it for you to view. If it's got a 1, then it senses humidity and allows you to control it by adding a humidifier, dehumidifier, or some sort of a IEQ product. Then the letter is going to be battery powered, communicating, dual powered, universal. If it's R like this one shows, that means REDLINK. If it's, and only REDLINK stuff works together. Z-Wave, if it's ZW, that means it's Z-Wave. If it's WF, that means it's Wi-Fi. If it's WFS, that means it's smart. This means it's Wi-Fi with a wireless sensor added. So this screen is a really nice screen for you to have. Reach out to your Resideo rep that you locally know. We have copies of this for you. And it's a nice thing to have on your van. Now, these Wi-Fi and REDLINK and Z-Wave thermostats allow the homeowner to lock this keypad out. These get used on commercial jobs, even though they're residential thermostats mainly. They still find their way into commercial that wants date code, that wants a screen lockout. Now, when you choose screen lockout on these thermostats, it's going to say, it's going to generate a code for you. And sometimes the homeowner or the business owner does not write that number down. And we do not publish how to get, how to figure out that code, because we don't want the employees to know how to unlock the thermostat and ruin the reason why they locked it out in the first place. So if you go up on a job and the thermostat's locked out and nobody knows how to get into it, the date code of the thermostat is on the back of the thermostat, and it'll be a 4-digit code. So in example number 1 here, 1734 means that in 2017, on the 34th week of the year, that thermostat left our factory or was made on that day. So if you know the date code, you take your calculator out and you add 1, 2, 3, 4 to it, and it'll spit out the passcode. So we take the date code plus 1, 2, 3, 4 in each thermostat to generate a unique code for that stat. So again, date code plus thermostat equals the secret password to get in there. And that's on the connected thermostat line across REDLINK, Z-Wave, and Wi-Fi. We also have some accessories that go with these thermostats. So the decorative cover plate, if you need to cover up an old thermostat that was bigger than the other, we do make a larger cover plate for that. We make a wired remote sensor because Wi-Fi thermostats allow some averaging if you want to do that, but you have to do it the old-fashioned way with series parallel wiring. On these, we do have T10 that you'll hear about. I guess it's either next week or the week after, that has some wireless sensors with it. Wired remote outdoor temperature sensor, if you want to use that, because they may not have, for some reason the temperature may be off, or you just want to use a hard wire. It's the same one we use with all of our other thermostats, the C7089U. And the C-wire adapter we talked about earlier, that gives us the ability to pull an extra wire, or to have an extra wire without pulling an extra wire. So temperature lockouts, once you use the outdoor internet, to get the outdoor sensor. You get balance point on for switch over for dual fuel. You get auxiliary heat lockout in North Carolina and in Kentucky on new construction. And I'm sure there's other places where to get your green tag, you have to prove that the auxiliary heat is locked out at a certain temperature for codes, and that's available with the internet on the Wi-Fi. Ventilation lockout for high temperature. If it's too high of a temperature outside and you're just bringing in some outdoor air with a damper, you might want to stop that event while it's extreme in the high and the low. And also if it's a high dew point where it's about to rain, you don't want to bring that moisture into the house. Having that dew point control with that outdoor sensor, you're not going to get that feature with the hardwired because it's not a humidity sensor where we're getting temperature and humidity data over the internet. So by far the best way to go with that any of those Wi-Fi is the internet data. On the thermostat itself, there's some alert reminders that you can go into the thermostat and say, hey, tell me when this happens. I want to know when to replace my air filters, clean my humidifier tank, or change my humidifier tank, replace the filters, ventilator cores, UV bulbs. All these things can be done. If you see that little deal, you got a menu and you clear it out or reset the timer in the thermostat. When we get to the 8000, the VisionPRO 8000, this is one of our best selling Wi-Fi thermostats because it does so much. It's 3 heat, 2 cool dual fuel. It's 2 heat, 2 cool conventional. It runs an IAQ device. You get to pick it. You can use a humidifier, dehumidifier, ventilator. You can only choose one. 5-year warranty, dual fuel, good old fashioned VisionPRO, right? Just does so much. This one also has commercial features. So in the setup, if I say, hey, I'm on a commercial thermostat or a commercial job today, I'm not saying wake, leave, sleep, and return anymore. It's occupied and unoccupied, which is what commercial needs to be. And I've got all the residential stuff's hidden and all the commercial stuff comes up. If I do indoor sensors, same as the T series on the hardwired 8000s, I have to do series parallel here with either a combination of 10K ohm and 20K ohm sensors, or and we allow you to use either one, but you have to do series parallel wiring to do averaging for those. Custom reminders. I've got 10 reminders I can put in that thermostat. So I can do fall, spring reminders, service reminders, warranty expiring. Really, it's anything you want to put in there to get some reminders to you to drive business back to your company. Internet data shows up on the screen for the weather. So if it's 30 degrees outside, it's going to show you on your app. It's also going to show you on your thermostat, and all your lockouts and stuff is set up through the stat. Really simple. You just you don't need batteries on these because we need the RNC. All the automatic software updates that we do, because these are Wi-Fi, not REDLINK. REDLINK is kind of shielded from automatic updates. You have to actually do it manually. Our Wi-Fi allows that to happen over the internet. So if we make a change, we push it out, and the homeowner doesn't have to do anything. The Wi-Fi 9000 gives you a nice color touchscreen thermostat, but it is not a Prestige. It looks like a Prestige, but it is a 3 heat, 2 cool system that does not do dual fuel. So just because it's a color touchscreen, don't assume that it's going to be a dual fuel stat, because it is not. If it did, it would say it on the box. But this one don't. But it's still a very popular, nice thermostat that will show you indoor humidity. But because if you look at the model number down there, TH, Thermostat Homes Division, the 9, color touchscreen 9000, X9 would be Prestige, that would have all the other features. 3 and the 2 means it's got 3 heat, 2 cool worth of relays in there. The 0 means it does not control a humidifier, but if you notice on the picture up underneath the temperature, it has humidity. It will show you what the humidity is, just not control it. WF means Wi-Fi. The 5003 is just a pretty much a distributor tag for how we package it. But you got 14 preset color themes, and you can go in there, and it's really simple, easy setup, and a nice feature. Good popular stat for homeowners. It is Android and Apple enabled. You set the clock up by the internet, so you don't really have to do much. Once it starts streaming the data in there, it just shows up for you. Then we have two apps that you choose from. So we have the app with the house in it is our TCC app. That's what's going to be what you use with our REDLINK stats, our Wi-Fi 8000, and our Color 9000 thermostat. The Honeywell Home app is what we use for the T6. So this house app is our Honeywell Home app. I may have just said that backwards a minute ago, so I apologize. The Honeywell Home app has the little house in it when you look at it on the App Store or the Google Play. And that gives you the T-Series connections and the other Honeywell Home app stats like the T10. The Total Comfort app is our 72-degree app that when you try to download it, that's what it looks like. That one is the REDLINK stats, the Wi-Fi 8000 and the Wi-Fi 9000. So we are working to bridge those two apps together. Hopefully this year we'll be able to do that. We kind of got set back last year with 2020. We also allow you to private label all these thermostats. So private label is a really nice way to get the homeowner calling you back when they need to go, and if there's an issue, and they still go, even though they have Wi-Fi, they go to their phones. They also go to their thermostats. So they'll always know who you are. Make sure you get with your distributor or your contractor, Resideo rep that can help you get these done for you. They send them out in case quantities, so it's a minimum order of 12, which is kind of easy to digest for you. And then we have another training on T10, which is our next step up to where we're going to start bridging REDLINK and Wi-Fi into the same thermostat. This one has wireless sensors that are available with it to help average in some of those hotter areas. And then make sure that you go to resideo.com/pro. That is our pro site for you, where you can log into your perks account to see your rewards that you're earning. Also, look at all the things that we offer that are complements to our thermostat within that app. So on the Honeywell Home app especially, I can run my security system, my heating and air system. I can monitor water leaks around the home with our water leak detector, and cameras. We have cameras that I can place through the home to get to have some level of security without having to pay a monthly fee there. So again, really exciting things in the Wi-Fi world. So we're gonna spend some time on some Q&A. I'm gonna roll through these, and then Jeff is gonna help me out with some stuff. So Jeff, you want to take it away here on our questions?
Sure, Gary. Great job explaining the difference of the protocols and the thermostats. So common questions that we run into on a day-to-day basis. Where in the T-Series line of thermostats does Wi-Fi start being offered? So our T6 Wi-Fi thermostats, Gary explained the 2 heat, 2 cool. We have a 3 heat, 2 cool also. Those are the 2 thermostats where our Wi-Fi offering begins. So that's question number 1. Can you lock the thermostat screens? Gary, you want to grab that one?
Yes, and I get this call a lot, and so does Jeff, because people will lock them out and not write down their code. So I'm sure somebody on this call has had this happen before. If it's just remember, if it's Wi-Fi thermostats, or REDLINK thermostats, you're going to have to find the date code and then do the +1, 2, 3, 4. And I will say use your calculator, because some people forget to carry the 1. So don't do it in your head, and it'll give you, and it'll spit out the right code, and you can get in there and take care of the customer.
Awesome. So do you need a wired sensor for dual fuel? So you don't. You got a couple options. You can use a wired sensor for dual fuel with the Wi-Fi stats, but as long as the thermostat, Wi-Fi thermostat is connected to the internet, then you're, as Gary discussed earlier, going to pick up the outdoor temperature and humidity in some stat cases, not all, but you'll pick up that outdoor temperature from the internet on a Wi-Fi stat, and then you don't have to use a wired sensor for your dual fuel changeover control. So good question there. One that we get quite often. So is everything available in one app? Gary, you addressed that a little at the end. You want to kind of wrap up with that?
Yeah, so when Jeff and I were putting this together, we're wrestling with letting you guys know, or girls know, that we can already do this on a couple of these. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. If you have a a Wi-Fi 8000, which is the TH8321WF, even though it is, you have to set it up with the TCC app. If you download a Honeywell Home app, you can bring that thermostat's information into the Honeywell Home app today. So if you've got a T6 on one system and somebody had a Wi-Fi 8000 already installed, you don't have to pull it off the wall. It will already flow into the new app, so you can have both of those work together. That's not true of REDLINK yet. We're working on it, and hopefully that'll be very soon.
Awesome. Okay. And last of the common questions that we get, are all thermostats Energy Star rated? So not all thermostats are Energy Star rated, but connected thermostats are Energy Star rated. So our Wi-Fi, our Z-Wave, and our REDLINK thermostats that are connected by our internet gateway, those are Energy Star rated thermostats. And in some cases, utilities, of course, will offer a rebate for that as well.
And rebates are a big deal, Jeff. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep.
Every time you go in front of a homeowner, if you're a contractor that goes in front of homeowners, make sure that in your markets that you've gone to Duke Energy. Like in my area, it's Duke Energy, it's Indiana Power and Light. There's a handful of utilities around here that I cruise their websites all the time, and I see what thermostat rebates that they're offering, and some of them give $125 with a Wi-Fi install. So imagine rolling up to a house in your van, talking to the homeowner about, hey, we have remote thermostats we can offer and put in today, and your utility will give you $100 back or $75 back or whatever it is they offer. That may take the pinch out of the price that you're offering to put that in, and create a little sense of urgency to upgrade that thermostat that day. Nothing wrong with it. And make sure that and especially if you're selling these Wi-Fi thermostats with equipment installs, there's a lot of people that don't explain to the homeowner that, hey, you could be getting $1,000 back from the utility on the furnace you chose, the condenser you chose, and the thermostat that you chose for this install. And so make sure you use that as a sense of urgency. And like Jeff said, all of our Wi-Fi thermostats are Energy Star rated. For the REDLINK to be Energy Star rated, you have to have the gateway, and it has to be the new model, which generally they all are. The old model was a black case. The new one is a white case, so it's visibly different. So as long as you've got the white gateway that's been out for the last 3 years, you're going to be fine. Otherwise, you need to update the homeowner with the new gateway. So thanks for that, Jeff.
Yep, excellent information. So we have some questions that have rolled in, Gary. Let's go to those.
Right, man.
Jamie is going to answer this one, it looks like. So can I get my customer's logo on their private label thermostats? Jamie? you
Yeah,
wanna-
so Jeff, I'm just organizing some things, trying to make things easier for you guys in there.
Oh, okay. So we can do logo. There are some requirements for that. So the best thing to do is reach out to your distributor and or your local Resideo rep, and we can help you with those requirements and when we can and can't do logo type thermostats. Next question up here. So let's see, somebody said they found the part number for the THP 9045A 1098. However, can't find a distributor in my area that sells the C-wire adapter. Can you point me in the right direction for purchase? Gary, I don't know what you would think on this, but my initial reaction to this is from Dina. The question is from Dina. Dina, I reach out to your distributor, let them know that this is a part you want to carry. And I can't imagine that they wouldn't carry that for you. So
Or you can call the Jeff or the Gary in that area. And if you don't know who that is, if you'll just text your info inside the chat screen there, we'll reach out to you. But yeah, I mean, I have those challenges too on some things, and a lot of it's just, you know, we have so many parts in our portfolio, it's hard for people to keep up. I got contractors don't even know we have it. So yeah, it's just one of those deals where we need to work together and drive that supply into our channel here, because it's a great piece of gear. If you've never used one, they really get you out of a jam quick, because pulling wire through some of the structures I've been in over the years is not fun.
no, Gary, I think
But
it's
good, very good question. But reach out, give us your contact info and what state you're in and city specifically, so we can hook you up with your rep in that area.
yeah, good idea. It's definitely a must-have on the truck if you're doing our Wi-Fi capable thermostats, because when you get into a jam and are a wire short, you don't want to have to run around and go find it. That's for sure.
What else you got?
So, go ahead, Gary.
What else you got, Jeff?
So next question. Can the T10 stat be private logoed now? Go ahead, Gary.
So the T10 is not going to have print on the front. When you order private label in T10, it's going to be digital. Your company info is going to be digitally put in the software. So when the homeowner needs to find their contractor on a T10, they're going to push it and it's going to come up on the screen. So that's how we decided to do T10. I hope that's acceptable for all of you.
Okay, so I've got another question here, Gary, and I'll grab this one real quick. Do any of the thermostats work with 5G Wi-Fi band? And the question is yes. Our T10 thermostat will work with either 2.4 or 5G. So we're going to be doing a training. I can't remember the date. Gary kind of gave us a teaser on that a training is coming up on our T10. So look for that training upcoming, and we'll go more into detail about the 2.4 and 5G that stat is able to connect to.
And I tell you, it's a nice thing to have a dual band thermostat on that when you're out there hooking it up. So don't want to steal too much thunder from the T10, but if you're looking for a dual band thermostat, that's the one to put on your truck right now. It's awesome.
Yeah, Gary, I couldn't agree more. That stat has definitely made it a lot easier for contractors to connect to the
a lot of different Wi-Fi routers out there, and routers change every day. I mean, these a lot of things that I've seen over the years is, some people put their thermostats and their routers maybe too far away from each other, but these routers have really gotten some better coverage in these homes. I just moved into a Lenore house. They're one of my customers, and I bought a new house from them, and it came with some Honeywell stuff, and they put a dual band router in my home, and it looks, I mean, I got coverage. My kids are not complaining, so my router must be awesome, and that's how I judge it. But okay, any more questions in the hopper there?
Oh, we've got 3 or 4 more yet. So
All right.
next question, Gary. do any of the connected thermostats offer any system diagnostics?
So the REDLINK thermostats do, and they do it in a pretty big way, but it's local at the thermostat. It's nothing that comes over the internet remotely. So if I wanted to go out on the job and you know, every 6 months and do a tune up, or I've got that REDLINK 8000 or that Prestige installed, especially the Prestige, I can go to the thermostat and see hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, high and low temperature limits, delta T, the temperature outside, inside, humidity inside, outside. We timestamp all that stuff in that thermostat. So you're not going to get that type of detail on a, you know, $150 Wi-Fi stat. That's going to be more up into the higher end Prestige range. Even the T10 doesn't really have that detailed of data, but all of our Wi-Fi stats and all of our REDLINK stats, especially when you use a gateway, to be Energy Star rated, you have to send a monthly report that gives some basic energy use. So we do that on all of them, but to get into some real service tech usable data, you're going to want to go with Prestige on that.
Yeah, Gary, I just last week had a contractor that called me with an issue. Homeowner was complaining that the thermostat was rising 2, 3, 4 degrees above set point. And fortunately, they had a Prestige thermostat installed. So I asked them to grab a USB stick and download all the performance data information. And we were able to look hour by hour in the last 7 days operation and find out that when the house was gaining temperature at that thermostat, and it was going up about 2 or 3 degrees above that point, the system was not operating at all, because it'll show you, you know, hour by hour, how many times that system is kicked on and off, what the set point is, so on and so forth. So we were actually able to determine that the system was not running. So there had to be some other heat source that was causing the stat to go above set point. Great stat. There'll be training, of course, on our REDLINK thermostats as well. So giving you a little teaser on that.
Yeah, REDLINK's a whole different animal. There's so much stuff packed in there that people never use, and when you really start digging in there, for the price of that thing, it's unbelievably awesome piece of gear.
Yep,
what do we got next?
So what do we have next? Do any of the thermostats have advanced scheduling or geofencing? You want to grab that one, Gary?
So all of our T-series thermostats have the same advanced programming that you're looking for, ease of use. I mean, even the TCCs are easy to program. I mean, they walk you through, they'll ask you, do it, you want to manually do it or guide me through the scheduling, and it just asks you questions that we actually patented the interview that you do with a homeowner all the time, which is, hey, what time you wake up, what time you go to bed, and all that mess, or go to work. And once you add those times in there, it's setting up your thermostat without feeling like you're setting up the thermostat. And that's just as easy on the stat as it is on the app. I think the app may be slightly easier, but hopefully that answered your question there.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Gary. I'm going to take this one. How far in the Wi-Fi setup process does Resideo expect the HVAC contractor to go? With home automation becoming more and more common, how far will we receive support on the integration of the customer system? So I'm going to jump in, and Gary, I'll let you follow up after.
Sure.
You know, you can go as far into the connection process as you want, or you can allow the homeowner to dive into that. We do have an 800 number in our users guides for the homeowners. So help, online help in regards to connection. We actually, and again, tease on the T10. The T10, we've put the connection process in the homeowner menu. So, you know, if you're not comfortable with it, there's an 800 number that you can definitely jump on. That is in the install manual, and they can help you with the connection process as well. But how far you want to go is up to you. I've had contractors of mine go through the whole connection process and get it done with the homeowner. I've had some that get the stat up running, because the stat will function without Wi-Fi connectivity. So you can get the stat up running, make sure the system's functioning the way it should be, and say to Mr. and Ms. Homeowner, hey, here's the user's guide. There's an 800 number if you have any issues or problems. I've seen both. Gary, what are you seeing out there?
Well, I see both, but I highly recommend this. Learn how to install a Wi-Fi thermostat. And if you don't know how, get with your Resideo reps and we will show you how. Is there going to be times where it's going to be a pain? Yeah. But most of the time it goes pretty good. And we do have good tech support. You might have to wait a little while sometimes during busy times, but they will answer and they're really good on getting connected. But the reason I stress this is because look at it like you just moved into a house and you're waiting on the cable person to show up. If they just came over and got the cable connected from the phone pole to your house and then gave you the box and said, okay, go set it up yourself, you would not be happy. So you just don't want to make sure the homeowner feels that way about your thermostat install. These Wi-Fi stats is pretty much a coaching thing. Here's how we do it on a Wi-Fi thermostat. First, let's say I'm the service tech, I show up there and whatever reason we started talking about Wi-Fi stats and they said, let's put one in. First thing I'm going to say is make sure you have your router password for me, because some people actually forget it, and by the time you've got it installed, they should have that thing ready to go. And if we're talking about a T-series, T6 install, let's say, you're going to say, okay, grab your phone and download the app and then make sure that your Wi-Fi is on the 2.4 gig signal. And sometimes they have a automatic switching router, right? Like I do. But there's other ones that actually say Mr. Johnson's 2.4 gig and Mr. Johnson's 5 gig. And it's clearly, you need to be on the 2.4 at that point. Unless you got a T10, then you can let her rip tater chip. You're off to the races. But once you get that little thing out of the way, you're able to just coach them through, and you've already got the thermostat set up for the 2 heat, 2 cool, or whatever you got. And then they're going to hit the plus sign. They're going to pick the thermostat, and you're going to show them which one to push. Then it's going to ask a couple of questions, and then you're going to be hooked up. So learn that little bit of a process. It's the icing on the cake, but try to avoid leaving it up to the homeowner, because they may say, hey, that's fine. And then when you leave, they're really not happy about it. And if you got any questions, call your rep and call the 1-800 number that I'm sure Jamie's gonna give us at the end here. Any other questions in there?
Well, I was going to ask Jamie. Jamie, are we okay time-wise to take a few more questions?
We are okay time-wise. We've got some really great questions in the chat here. And if we don't have time to get through all of them, we'll make sure to follow up with you. And also make sure that you tune in to our REDLINK training that is happening on the 26th of January, where we're going to cover all kinds of things, including T10. See, lots of T10 questions in there. And if we don't get to those today, we'll make sure to cover those in a couple of weeks. And we can go over a little bit on time today, gentlemen, so that we can answer all these questions.
Awesome.
Sure,
These are excellent questions we're getting. So, all right. So the next question, is there a longer lead time when ordering private label thermostats? So Gary, I'll jump in on that one.
Go ahead, because the answer is yes.
So obviously, if distributor has it on the shelf and you order it and you can take it off the shelf, that's going to be much quicker than ordering private label thermostat. You do have to order 12 of a SKU at a time. And that may take 2 to 4 weeks, depending. There's, COVID definitely affected how quick we were responding and getting thermostats back out last year. But typically in about a 3-week period, you should be able to get stats from time of order. Again, that's not locked in stone. Stuff can affect that. Next question. So will the Honeywell Home app ever offer a live to date runtime equipment activity? I don't know that we know the answer to that one, Gary.
There's a lot of things that's on the wish list, and that's one of them. I don't know when the new over-encompassing Resideo app comes out that everything will flow to in the future. I don't know. I wish I could give you that info, but we're writing it down because I've got that plus a few other things from the contractors I deal with, that things that the homeowners want to see with a thermostat. So keep them coming. And if you know your rep, make sure they have your wish list, because we actually send that stuff to the right people.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to answer that one. And then what is the pricing model? Oh, what is the pricing model for VisionPRO Wi-Fi Stat app? The app. So the app, both our Total Connect Comfort app and our Honeywell Home app, which, as Gary mentioned, we're going to be working to try and combine those into a single app. Both of those apps are free. There's no charge for those, and there's no monthly fee for those. So good question from.
And if you choose the Wi-Fi 8000 and you're in a commercial application and they have plenty of Wi-Fi coverage, and I've got jobs where there's 100 thermostats in a building. We do have a separate companion site that's called our group scheduling. So that allows you to pick thermostats, and so I could pick all 100 and program them all at the same time instead of going one at a time. So if you're on some commercial jobs and you need group scheduling, reach out to your Resideo rep and we'll give you the how you access that. It's actually the same username and password that you use on your other app. So it's really nice.
Yep. Okay. So Gary, next question. Whoop. Must have come in and it jumped on me. Can the T10 be uploaded at the shop, the contractor info? Can they upload that at the shop?
You can do it manually if you have a T10 on the wall, or you got one that you're putting in today that doesn't have preloaded info in the installer setup. You can manually put your contractor info in today. But when you order it private labeled, all that will be uploaded into the thermostat software for you.
Okay, and let's see here. Next question. Oh, okay. So for the T10, what would be the range it would reach to require an booster so it gets a clear signal?
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, you broke up. What was the question again?
So T10 thermostat, what
Yes.
would be the range it would reach to require an external booster so that it gets a clear signal?
So, about 200 feet or less from the, well, maybe it's not even that much. It's like 50 to 75 feet almost between the router and the thermostat. Probably once you start getting past 50, if you just use a regular router in a semi kind of big house, 3,000 square foot house, and if they get too far away from each other, you may need to put some sort of a Google type of mesh thing, repeaters around the house. It all depends on your router. REDLINK is different. REDLINK, you put a gateway in, it shoots 200 feet across the house. When you put a T10 in and you've got good access, it's got a good router coverage to it. It's got REDLINK sensors that you can place 200 feet away from that stat. So that's why REDLINK's such a better deal in commercial. So in commercial, it's really crucial. So if I got a lot of times people, especially churches, we've got, in Fishers, Indiana here, we've got just these mega churches that are just monstrous. And they've got, 15, 16 REDLINK thermostats in there. And if they put some of them use Wi-Fi, and we've told them not to, and they did it anyway. And then they ended up having to go back and put gateways in because they had one little bitty residential style Wi-Fi router at the front of the building. and it doesn't hit the farthest away thermostat. So router coverage is a big deal in commercial and residential. But these newer routers are really have some pretty good distance to them. But after about 50 feet on a normal router, you're going to start seeing some, losing some bars there, so to speak.
Excellent. Okay, we're getting down to the last three questions, Gary. So I've got a question. I'm assuming it's a question as to how difficult it would be to connect to 5G cellular versus 5 gigahertz 802.11.
So when you say cellular, a Wi-Fi thermostat is at a house that you want to view remotely. So I get this question all the time. Well, can I just use my hotspot? Well, what do you do with the hotspot when you leave the house? Well, I take it with me. Well, then you're not monitoring the home when you're gone. So you can use a Wi-Fi, like a MiFi type of a thing, if it stays on all the time and stays at the house. If you're taking it with you, you might as well not have bought a Wi-Fi stack, because you're not covering anything unless you're in there, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So hopefully that's what you're asking but yes, it will pick up. Like I use my hotspot to run my demos at trade shows sometimes. So it totally work. But if you leave the house with your internet, then you're not monitoring anything.
Awesome answer, Gary. Okay, so last question. There's actually two more. I think I'll type an answer on the one, but the last one here, if you're using dual fuel and running off Wi-Fi and no outdoor wired sensor or no outdoor sensor, and lose your internet signal, will the system still operate? And I'll grab that one, Gary. The answer is it will. So if you lose internet signal and the stat, when it calls for heat, can't pick up that outdoor sensor, then the thermostat in dual fuel defaults to backup heat. So that's just a safety feature that we've built into all of our dual fuel thermostats. So whether it's a wired sensor, a wireless sensor with a REDLINK product, or a wired sensor, an internet sensor through AccuWeather, if any of those sensors fail, the thermostat will default to backup heat so that we make sure and keep, number one, the house from freezing, number two, keep the homeowner comfortable. As soon as the internet comes back and the stat reconnects on its own, then it goes back to its normal operation of looking for that outdoor temperature when there's a call for heat. Great question.
And it's so awesome. And even on new installs, but like if you get there, like if it's a new construction and the dual fuel went in and you need that internet for the dual fuel switch over, you just set the thermostat up as wired internet for the outdoor sensor, and it'll just run the furnace until the homeowner, until their internet provider puts the internet in. And as soon as that's in there, and as soon as that stat is connected up, just like Jeff said, it'll start using the balance point, and if it's above it, it'll route it through the heat pump, and below it, it'll stay on the furnace. So it also works on the startup side of it as well.
Yeah. Well, we better wrap it up and turn this back over to Jamie. Jamie, it's all yours.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Jeff. And thank you to all of our attendees today for your engagement with us on this topic. These are great questions. We appreciate you staying with us as we provided answers to all of those questions that you submitted. And we're going to make sure to pass these along to your Resideo sales rep to make sure that they follow up with you as well. And a big thank you to Gary for providing us with this product overview today, as well as thank you to Jeff for helping answer those questions as well. Like we mentioned at the beginning of our time today, in 2021, we are very excited to keep offering these sessions as we go forward and want to make sure that you are aware. We are going to be offering these training sessions twice each month. So make sure you join us on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month for these training sessions. Go ahead and visit resideo.com/webinars underneath the HVAC tab for more information and to sign up for the REDLINK training that both Gary and Jeff mentioned earlier. We're going to be covering our REDLINK thermostats on the 26th of January. Additionally, we do record each of these sessions, and you can find those recordings on the same website under that webinar recordings tab on the resideo.com/webinars site as well. And then one last reminder for our contractors attending today who maybe did not include your NATE ID on your registration form and you'd like to receive credit for attending today's session, please go ahead and send an email with your first name, your last name, and your NATE ID number to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week of today's live webinar to receive 1 NATE credit for attending this session. And then just 2 final things to note before we close today. Once our training session ends, you are going to be prompted to complete a survey regarding our session today. Please take a few moments to provide us with your feedback on this training that you participated in. We are very excited to in 2021 to be offering more training sessions, and we're very interested in your feedback, and we'd love to hear what you thought about today's session as well as your thoughts and ideas for additional trainings you'd like to see us cover. And then finally, you're going to receive an email from us in just a few days that includes some follow-up information on all the products that we reviewed, as well as the link to the website for information on our future webinars as well. We look forward to having you join us for our next training on January 26th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we are going to be covering our REDLINK thermostat portfolio. Thank you again for joining us for today's Resideo webinar session. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.